On screen, Harriet Nelson was the picture of American perfection, the smiling housewife, the loving mother, the woman who seemed to have it all under control. But what if I told you that behind the closed doors of Hollywood's most wholesome family, Harriet was living a life that contradicted everything she stood for on television? What if the perfect housewife millions adored was actually hiding secrets that could have shattered her carefully crafted image? This isn't the story Hollywood wanted you to hear. It's the story Harriet Nelson never wanted you to know. To the world, Harriet Nelson was more than just an actress. She was an institution. Alongside her husband, Ozzie, and their sons, David and Ricky, she helped shape the cultural landscape of post-war America through the adventures of Ozzie and Harriet. For 14 seasons, the Nelsons embodied the dream of domestic bliss, selling audiences a vision of a simpler, happier life. Harriet was the glue that held the fictional family together, the calm, witty, picture-perfect homemaker who never faltered. But reality, as it so often does, painted a much different picture. Before she became America's housewife, Harriet Hilliard lived a life full of ambition, rebellion, and contradictions. Born Peggy Lou Snyder in Des Moines, Iowa, she was never destined for the quiet suburban life her TV persona reflected. By her teenage years, she was singing in nightclubs, immersing herself in the glamorous but often dangerous world of Prohibition-era entertainment. She was ambitious, sharp, and far from the demure woman she would later portray. Harriet didn't just stumble into fame, she pursued it with determination, and it was this drive that eventually led her to Ozzie Nelson, a bandleader who shared her love of performing. Their marriage, at least in the public eye, looked like a fairy tale. But those close to the couple often whispered about Ozzie's controlling nature and the toll it took on Harriet. Behind the scenes, she wasn't just a smiling wife. She was a woman navigating the pressures of a demanding husband, a grueling career, and the unrelenting gaze of the public. Harriet was often the stabilizer, managing Ozzie's anxieties and their children's futures, while simultaneously holding up the image of the perfect family. It was a role she played flawlessly on screen, but off-screen, the cracks were impossible to ignore. What few people realize is how much Harriet sacrificed of herself to keep that image alive. Friends claimed she longed for more independence, but Ozzie's insistence on maintaining the family brand kept her tied to the series for years. Even when the cameras stopped rolling, the Nelsons lived under the shadow of their television personas, blurring the lines between reality and performance. Harriet, more than anyone, carried the weight of that illusion. And yet, Harriet's double life wasn't entirely tragic. It was also a testament to her resilience. She had built a career in an industry that chewed women up and discarded them, and she had outlasted countless others by adapting, by playing the part society demanded, even when it cost her personally. In many ways, Harriet's hidden struggles made her more real than the character she portrayed. She wasn't just the perfect housewife. She was a woman balancing ambition, sacrifice, and survival in an era that demanded women play second fiddle. When Harriet Nelson passed away in 1994, obituaries painted her as the beloved matriarch of America's first family. But those who knew her best understood there was more to her story. She had lived two lives, the one America believed in, and the one she quietly endured. Today, when we revisit the adventures of Ozzie and Harriet, it's easy to be charmed by the warmth she radiated. But behind every knowing smile and every perfect line was a woman far more complex than the role she was given. Harriet Nelson will always be remembered as television's quintessential housewife, but her legacy is also a reminder that perfection is often a mask, and behind that mask, real lives are far more complicated, more painful, and more inspiring than we ever imagined.